a wonderful physician from the state of Louisiana, Dr. John Fleming.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm a family physician and have practiced for over 30 years. I have lived inside the economics of this healthcare system. In fact, I'm a part of the GOP Doctors Caucus that we combined have over 400 years of clinical experience in living within this economic system we call healthcare. And not one time, not one day, have any of us been consulted by those who are making this piece of legislation we're soon to be voting on. But let me make something very clear, and I think you've already heard a lot about this subject. Coverage does not mean access. Coverage does not mean access. What do I mean by that? Cuba has 100% coverage. The problem is there's no access. There's one colonoscope in the whole country. How do they diagnose cancer? When you're dying of cancer. Antibiotics are free. They just don't have any antibiotics. Now you say, well, that's a third world country. Well, let's turn to Canada. Canada has 100% coverage. They do not have 100% access. The UK, we heard all sorts of testimony from patients and doctors alike. They have 100% coverage. They have very poor access, waiting months for MRIs, waiting months for doctor's visits, inability to get a mammogram. Their cancer death rates are much higher than ours. Again, they have 100% coverage. And you say, well, the United States is different. Well, is that true? Let's look at Tennessee. You heard Dr. Rowe talk about Tennessee. If you're on Medicaid, you're limited to 8 visits a year. And no matter what's wrong with you, the hospital can only be paid $10,000 a year. Already limitation of access. Massachusetts, upon which this program is being developed, they're already way above budget, running out of money, and they're looking to the federal government to subsidize their disaster. And now our president and the Democrats are asking us to go down the same pathway. Now let me explain very quickly how this bill is financed. First of all, it takes out $500 billion from Medicare from what the Speaker says is fraud, waste, and abuse. Unfortunately, nobody knows how in the world that's going to happen. If we could do this in the last 50 years, why didn't we do it? What is that magic bullet? Then we take the $500 billion that does not exist as savings, and we extend the life of Medicare, which is going to die within 7 years. Then we take the same $500 billion and we finance a subsidy for middle class entitlements. And by the way, the middle class will see 12 new or increased taxes. That is the middle class, the people that the President promised would not see tax increases. 12 new taxes or tax increases in all of this. So we're counting the same $500 billion 3 times. That's a difference of $1 trillion right there. On top of that, we tax the people another $500 billion. And then on top of that, the smoke and mirrors does not stop. The Class Act, long-term care, is set up. We begin putting money into it so that it will sustain long-term care, nursing home care, so forth in the future. But what do we do with the money? We take it out to subsidize care now. Is this a familiar sort of thing? Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We take the money today and hope someday we'll be able to pay for it. We hope that someday that a future Congress will be able to have some sort of courage to control cost. It's an ever extending theme. And then finally, SGR rate. The doctors are scheduled for Medicare to get a 21% increase. A 21% decrease in their pay. We all know that if that happens, that's going to shut down Medicare. The system will crumble. And yet the Speaker took that piece out of this. That's $250 billion, which we all know will be in the red. So trust me, this CBO stuff is all smoke and mirrors. It's all manipulation. And as Paul Ryan, my friend, says, you can manipulate the numbers, but you cannot manipulate the reality. So we're going to fight all the way to the very end on this. for the American people, because all of us believe in healthcare reform. But we believe it needs to be common sense healthcare reform, starting with lowering the cost, increasing patient choices, and we want to see individual healthcare pieces passed individually, one at a time, incrementally, starting with the low-hanging fruit, doing away with pre-existing illnesses, tort reform, all the things that we can agree on. But finally, we do not believe that government takeover of healthcare, the biggest dive into incremental socialism this country has seen in 50 years, is the right way to go. And I want to introduce my colleague and good friend, Lynn Jenkins from the state of Kansas.
Thanks, John.